Hi everyone. So let's try and understand how well can we leverage the time that we have between us right now. Straight away, just getting into what I do. I think I put in my heart and soul from a very long time for Think Creation, that's my agency, to bring in a sense of hybrid approach in terms of marketing. Well, what I mean by hybrid approach is that how do you ensure that you bring in the best balance between online and offline marketing strategies that you want to implement. So on that note, we always feel that a very well-knit strategy would help you to leverage all the platforms which is available on the social media today. Well, of course, the mass social media, that is Facebook, Twitter, is gearing up, and things are really, getting engaging with the audience today. But I would still want to say the coming time is going to be slightly different. We will have the niche social media taking over the mass social media. Let's get into that and dwell into the topics now. Can I just go ahead into the next slide, Chitra? Is that okay?
Yes, Prashant, please go ahead.
Yeah. So let's try to understand what is the objective of this webinar. I mean, if you look at how education ecosystem in India is working today, there are certain challenges that you tend to face in terms of communication. What I mean by communication here is that the management role is more concerned about how do we portray the amount of research, the amount of patents, the amount of knowledge bank that they have, and they want to push that into the social. Whereas the student community on the other side want to engage with the socials, and they want to share more about their campus, they want to talk more about their campus life. There's a gap in terms of understanding where both the ecosystems have to come together. One is trying to communicate how strong they are in terms of their academics. The other one is talking about the holistic, experience that they're trying to have in their campus life. So there is a need for us to understand the mindset change. So that is one thought that we would like to explore right now together. And the other aspect is brand equity and maturity. I personally feel not all brands are actually, they're not a startup. You know that most of the universities have a legacy. They have their own strengths. They have their core strengths. It could come from the methodology of teaching, or it could be anything, but at the end of it, each of these universities have a different brand maturity. So how do you actually be cognizant of all of these things and come up with a very good strategy to leverage social media? Could be something that we could approach as a second point. And thirdly, we will try to assess and see currently what are the features that we have on social media, which we could utilize in the best possible manner. And due to the dominance of Facebook, probably in India, we will spend a little more time on the features on FB, talk very little about the other social media, because there is a different approach that you need to take. So talking on the mindset change, then we move on to the brand equity, and then we talk about features. And the last thing is about the takeaway, where we'll try to understand what is today's tomorrow. As in, things have drastically changed in the way people respect social media today. It's one of the greatest influences that we can think of. How do we ensure that all of these things that we have in our hand can make it a coexisting thing for us to build brand together? That is especially for the universities. So on that note, I'll just move on to the next slide. Well, tone of communication. Like I said, kids or probably college students or students who are aspiring to be called professionals, I'm talking about both undergraduate and the postgraduate students, they have a sense of communication today. If you look at the pattern of they texting, they calling, they talking, when you look at social media, it gives you that sense of freedom to write what you feel like, and you really emote well. It's an emotional space where you can easily throw up what you feel, because that's exactly what social media does. Why does it get viral? Because of the very fact that people can emotionally connect well. So it's more to do with the tone of communication. I think from the stakeholder standpoint, when I look at it, especially the faculty and the chancellors and vice chancellors, they have a particular style of communication to the overall system and things like that. But what has that led to is sometimes the student community feel that it's too heavy on them to understand and get things into their system. It does not percolate to be something that is friendly to them in terms of the tone of communication. So there needs to be a small change in the tone of communication to the student community from the universities. So probably the next slide will actually help you understand this better. What I mean by that is, if you really believe that the digital platform today is the new classroom, then in that case, as a brand, as a university, you should learn to adapt to today's time. So when you look at the journey of Apple logo, today you have that beautiful looking half bitten, a little bit in Apple. But the thing is, the way they were able to adapt over the years, you can see the journey. You can see why the gradient has become a flat icon today. So there are certain emotional aspirations that they have easily translated it to the consumers. Similarly, I think there has to be an effort by the university communication department or the marketing department to come together and come up with a strategy where they can emotionally connect well and make the younger audience or the student community to get into the system. First, you have to ensure that they're part of you. At this point of time, I think the first step itself is lacking. We see that a lot of education institutions and universities communicating more about their projects, more talking about what exactly happened in one of the seminars or collaborations that they've had on an international platform, all taken. We respect that. We don't have an issue with that. But then, if you don't have a mix of elements which can inspire and then make it relevant to the student community, I think all the stakeholders at the end of it will be hampered, because ultimately it is the child, it is the student who will go back to the parents and say, you know what, I want to study here. You know why I want to study here? Is because, see, it's not just about the research projects. It's not just about this. Look at the campus life that I see. I feel home. I feel comfortable. I feel there's so many good activities, extracurricular activities that is happening around. And I want to be, feeling that I'm there and I'm doing my professional course, and yet I'm able to bring in a balance between both my academics as well as my other activities. So this is exactly what should be the tone of communication. And I think all the universities should look at this as a very serious element of mind shift, to ensure that there is a belief system that you can inspire. You can ensure that you have the relevant content reaching out to the young minds. So this is a very crucial approach that we need to take. I've just shared one of the memes. If you could spend a little time and look at how this meme looks. Basically, it starts with how you actually learn the maths. So the mathematics thing, the skills that you learn. So finally, it ends up showing that it is the Excel which will help you to excel. I mean, it sounds funny. It looks funny, but I still feel it's a beautiful meme which could be shared to bring in a sense of warmth with the student community. And these kind of humor can actually add life to the journey between the student community and the university. I always see the gap there. It's purely to do with tone of communication. I think what we need to do is spend a little more time in your design thinking workshops for your social media content calendar. Have few people probably from your marketing team. Of course, they have to be there. Then get more people from the HODs or the faculty. The head of each of the faculties can be part of that meeting. Then you rope in probably the student community welfare head or someone who actually looks at how student life or campus life can be better. Now, if these three pillars come together and create a content calendar, there will be a sense of mix of content which can actually increase the interest for these kids to follow you and make you sound like something which is very close to them. University should not sound something which is only academically driven today, and that is the major ask from today's students. So how do you increase this interest? It's basically by communicating this way, that you have all of these humor, you bring in a sense of a friendly tone of communication, and finally you will end up increasing your fan base. Today you need communities. If you don't build communities, you'll not be able to communicate anything to anyone. So how do you bring these young, like-minded kids together? pick up topics and interests which they would like to relate it to. We are not here just talking about the university's achievements. Of course, yes, but your content calendar needs to have a tone of communication and a strategy where the emotional aspirations of the students should be put on priority. That's when you can increase the interest, you can increase the warmth between the university and the student community, and finally, it's all about increasing the fan base. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, this is a reality. I think gone are the days where you want people to like you. I think as a university, you should be loved. Probably, this is a very emotional statement, but I think it still makes sense from all the aspirations point of view, because today, all of the students are moving towards passion-driven streams. Though they might be doing their engineering in one of the streams, but I'm very sure kids tend to have this notion today that they want to have a specialization in a particular stream. So they they know very well as to what they're going to be doing with their future. So I don't see the gap where people normally say that they have a lot of distractions. I completely know that they have distractions. They use social media a lot. I very well know that. But ultimately, it is our responsibility. If the younger generation are preferring to be more on digital, more on social, then why don't you push content which can make it more engaging for them, more relevant to them, and ensure that they're still streamlined into their career and they take it forward. So how do you match, or how do you bring in a balance between what is called a distraction and you convert that into an attraction is what is the objective of this particular slide. I'm just trying to say some amount of efforts should be put in by the communication heads of the universities to ensure that what students actually see on social media, it's not just about liking it, it's about loving it, it's about commenting about it, it's about making more mentions, it's about making more shares. The more positive connotations are pushed by the student community about a university, you cannot find better brand ambassadors than them. So it's very crucial that we understand this particular slide, especially from a content strategy standpoint. Please ensure there are more shareable and more engaging things. On that note, I will also spend a little more time on the other topics too. Well, moving ahead, I think it's about understanding a little bit of the brand equity part of it. Now, there are universities who have achieved from a very long time. They have a legacy for themselves. There are universities who are probably 5-6 years old, but they still have a different brand equity. Few might be known for research, few might be known for other curricular activities. What happens is, if you don't understand where your university actually is conceived or perceived as a strategist, as a brand strategist, or as a communication expert, or the communication department head, the most crucial thing is being realistic. To me, do not try to say, there's a huge difference between calling it a expansive space or an expansive campus as compared to massive. So if you're massive, you call it massive. If you're expansive, call it expansive. If you're a university which has very little infrastructure but a lot of knowledge bank, great, talk about that. So how well and how realistic can you be to understand your own brand equity, and positioning your own brand or your university plays a very crucial role in understanding this, because every university is strong in its own way. You need to communicate what you are passionate about through the student community. I think that's a very crucial aspect that you need to note. So how do you recognize where you stand? Probably I'll put it into 3 phases. There are universities who want to go to market and sell. It's more to do with, I need more admissions because I'm not as big as another university. I do not want to name any of them, but there are universities who are just focusing on admissions because they feel this is crucial. And at this point of time, sustaining any big infrastructure, because there's a lot of efforts and it is a lot of money which goes into putting up a beautiful university. So it's also about sustaining it. So There will be strategies where you have to bind yourself, your team, or your communication team to come up with a design or a marketing strategy where you focus more on revenue and ensure that there are more admissions done. So your strategy will not be more to talk on brand building. It will be talking more about how do you entice, how do you ensure you have more admissions to your university. Then comes the phase two kind of scenario for the same university, probably after a few years of successful admissions of many brand ambassadors, I would call them. I personally feel all students, alumni who pass out from any university are your best brand ambassadors. The best part is you don't need to pay them. So when you move into the phase two, it's a hybrid marketing model now. I personally feel a university which has a medium level maturity, the brand prism should be such that they do not have to splurge money for admissions, but they need to reposition themselves and have a very good collaborative environment with the global standards seeping into their operations. These things can happen only when your communication on your social has a very clear-cut strategy which talks on what could be hybrid in terms of revenue and what could be on the branding front. So on this note, probably phase two is something where you could talk about university which has achieved some amount of maturity in the market space. Then I'm talking about leaders. Phase three is about brand marketing. You're not looking at admissions at all. What you're looking at here is, it's about how do you ensure that you get what you want people to talk about your university. What is that branding? What is that brand line? What is that tag that you would like to have with your university? Because this is where big players or leaders in the ecosystem of education will be looking at. I think that's a very important thing because you're not worried about your admissions. You're more concerned about what quality, what enhancement can I bring in the journey of education ecosystem. I'm really talking about universities which can bring in a change. And I think high maturity or brand equity universities can lead not just collaborations happen, but probably also set different standards and improve or enhance the overall experience of learning. You're talking about a different phase and a different league here. I think you should recognize in your content strategy between the three phases where do you stand, and you should be very, very optimistic, but also equally very realistic about where you really stand. So in your timeline, if you're in between phase one and phase two, please spend a little more on advertising and focus a little more on conversion. Do not focus anything to do with brand equity. I would suggest if you do not have enough leads coming in, I think that will lead to a lot of issues. Instead, anyone who can recognize themselves in phase one and phase two should have more advertising spend. Your marketing strategy for branding can be lower, but you could always spend a little more. And I think FP has matured drastically. There are automated ads. If you have an agency working for you and if they're giving you ad campaigns, please evaluate that and also respect the fact that they also come with bright ideas. But it should be something where it should be looked at in a very open-minded way. You need to know what the automated ad campaigns are telling you, and you can also check with what the agency is trying to provide. Sometimes uniqueness plays a very crucial role, which probably the bots might have not picked it, but a human mind can. So there's too much of dependency on automation and AI might lead to issues. I would definitely request all people who are the stakeholders who are planning the marketing strategy, digital spend, should spend more on advertising on FB because of the dominance, and also ensure that the lead campaigns are very well jotted down. Please have ad policies read well. Do not have ad campaigns, too many ad campaigns stopped because of the ad policies issues, because this could also lead to some kind of indication to the engine where the bots might pick and say the score might go down. There are possibilities. I wouldn't say the RPAs will not pick this, but I'm not very sure at this point in time, but I'm sensing because that's how all your insights tend to show me a trend. So it is better that you are very clear about the ad policies and then have ad campaigns run. talking on phase 2 and phase 3, if you're in between these two phases, I think ad spends can go a little lower and spend more on probably community building, and you might have to have more of events. Have more events so that you could actually live stream your events and build your brand equity. We'll spend a little more time on those aspects, but I would say your ad spend for brand marketing would be minimal. To all the stakeholders who are actually listening to this webinar, I would like to introduce you to where and how we stand today. This is a simple BI from Global Stats. You can see extremely dominant FP right there. It is at 89% when it comes to overall social media stats in India. And when you look at FP when it comes to the mobile phone, because it is more so driven by student community when it comes to education ecosystem, 90% are still on FP. So if you ask me about Instagram and FP, I would still suggest FP is a better engine to focus on, solely because Instagram is more for leisure. It's more for people who enjoy their food. It's just an instant gratification that they gain. So there's nothing to do much about academics or just to entice them about a particular topic. None of those things happen there. Maybe in the coming years, I might see Instagram also becoming something like InShorts. Probably if you look at InShorts today, I personally feel fantastic because in a paragraph, you get to see the whole world. I mean, you just have to spend 15 minutes in a day and you know what the whole world is doing. So something like that, probably you will never know. Instagram might end up having news of its own because the kind of engagement of younger audience is too high, and they might end up giving up small, ads and stuff like that. There are ads today, but I still feel something more informative or infotainment might come up in Instagram. It's just an analysis, but I still stick to FB because if you look at the overall system, the way it's working, I think the student community like to have a lot of shares, a lot of mentions, and they love the fact that their page is followed by these number of people. They take pride in it, and that's true. So it's better that we reach out to our own, brand ambassadors, ensure that the FB page has maximum number of followers, and we focus more on that. Pinterest is catching up. Again, I would still say there's more to do with fashion. It's not something which is education centric, but recently we just came up with a case study where we're trying to propose it to one of the institutes. It's a management institute where we thought, why not have cufflinks and very good corporate dressing, power dressing attire pinned on the Pinterest for a management institute. And we've seen there is some amount of traction gained because of that campaign. We could try out Pinterest too, but I would suggest it's more to do with fashion and lifestyle. YouTube, you cannot ignore. It's owned by Google, and your credit overall scoring in terms of what happens with the overall SEO score is that you will end up having a better score if you are feeding in the engine with a lot of videos. That's very crucial. Twitter is more to do with B2B. I'll come to that again. Instagram, I spoke about it. LinkedIn again is a very niche social media. Students might start leveraging it, especially the higher education postgraduate students will end up using LinkedIn in their final years, surely to ensure that they're part of the ecosystem in the best possible manner, and there are HR managers who will start hiring them. These things lead to that, but ultimately, from a university standpoint, I will again come back and say, our stakeholders are using FB even today. Please do not have any strategy beyond FB at this point of time because that is dominating your social traffic. Well, what are our stakeholders thinking? What are they reading? What are they watching? What are they learning? Now, I just want to spend a little time on, I spoke about tone of communication, right? So if you look at this image, so Virat Kohli has made a statement saying there's no culture of scolding. It doesn't exist anymore in the dressing room. Now, when you look at a statement like this coming from a captain of Indian cricket team, and you can just map the mindsets of the youngsters today. I think they want to be more, they want to be felt more comfortable and very free in their thinking. They want to feel free to say what they feel. You have to make them understand things, and probably you can make them understand only when you try to understand what they would love to hear from you. So it's more to do with the atmosphere that you create in your campus. Please understand, I think somewhere the faculties and the student community need to create a sense of a freedom, and this freedom can be translated into on social media. I remember one of the case studies where selfies with Guru was fantastic. I think it was on Guru Purnima. I saw that there were a lot of young kids with their mentors getting the selfie done. Flooding such images on social media shows the warmth between the faculty and the student community, and straight away brings in a sense of a feeling that this is the right place for me. It's not about admission. It's not about infrastructure. It's about how you engage them, what you do, and how you ensure that that is witnessed in socials. So please have real life incidents and wonderful moments that you would have got with your student community, or it could be anybody, maybe even the colleagues in a university. If they have had a very good time, probably they've played cricket together. Whatever it could be, it should be away from what they normally do, something to do away from their academics, will add more value in terms of your social connect. So I'll just move on to the next slide. Well, I feel sorry for this girl. I mean, she's a fantastic actress, with due respect. Disha Patani actually put up this post, and there was also coverage in one of the news channels where she actually fell down and she had almost memory loss for 6 months. Sounds very scary, but she again comes back and says, so don't stop. You should go ahead and probably remember one thing, that only when you break your bones and knees, you'll reach somewhere in life. Now, yeah, I mean, it's a very nice thing to put up, but young kids today, they love to read these stuff. I mean, they want to follow young achievers. They want to know more about them. They want to know their personal space. So try your best to get some young achievers to your university for guest talks. Use that event and go live on FB. Use that event, create small snippets and videos of that event, have testimonial shot of that guest, put that up on social, get students to take selfies with that celebrity. What it does is, one, they want to get inspired. Second, they want to flaunt. I mean, there's nothing wrong. These kids want to talk about their own universities. They want to be very confident in the world, and they want to tell, I am proud to be here. And that is exactly what social media can do. If you can take pride with your own brand, there's nothing bigger than that. So that's exactly what social media can do if you can actually inspire the young minds. Moving further, let's spend a little time on features that Facebook has, currently that it has. I think it's more to do with the engagement part. So on that note, like I said, events can actually bring in a very good approach, hybrid approach to your overall brand presence. Let me give you a simple example. If you look at many cricketing events like IPL or even the World Cup, if you look at social media statistics during the time, kids have not involved themselves, younger minds have not involved themselves during the cricket match. It is the post-match or prior to the match that there is a huge search on social media. What it brings to your mind is that events bring a sense of wanting to be there, a sense of what is that I'm going to experience, and post-experience is what they can share. So there is an emotional connect that an event can bring in. That is an experience that they want to share it with the world. So it's all about brand storytelling for them. They feel, you know what, we had this amazing TED talk in our college, in our university. We had this gentleman coming and talking about this. Wow, it was so inspiring. So the more you create events, publish them, have more live videos, you will start building a very strong community. And if you want to position your faculty members in the best possible manner, I think offline events is the best place to do it. You want one of the professors who's probably got a double PhD in a particular stream. You want to put him in the front. This is the opportunity, because this is where you will find student community coming together, as well as the like-minded minds who are willing to be part of an event. So please utilize events, create events, have a lot of best in town concept. Japanese follow this. It's called BIT. So best in town. So even if you don't have to do a pan-India event, that's fine. Be very strong in the radius of 25 kilometers. Ensure there are a lot of young minds coming into the event. Showcase what your brand is all about. Everybody wants to know what your university is thinking. Collaborations are great, but if you can't bring a sense of why am I here in the minds of these kids, I think the brand strategy, your communication, using the feature will not help you. It's not about pumping money. It's not about spending it on SP. It's about communicating and having a right strategy and a balance between events that is offline and online. So reviews. I mean, well, we've seen many review engines where or aggregators where there's so many negative reviews also popping up. So online reputation management has become a challenge, but FP reviews is something that is highly valuable in terms of you positioning your university. I think if you don't have good amount of reviews and ratings done to your FP page, in the year 2020-21, you will start seeing more engines built around this. There'll be more insights derived out of what is your reputation online. So I would suggest kindly have explore this particular thing and share it with more people and have more good reviews written on your FP page. It's a very crucial activity. Just to tell you what FP itself is providing from an insight standpoint, you get to know where your audience are, what is their age group, which city they come from, who are their, what are your fans, talking? Is it like they have Marathi as their language or Hindi? You get to know the mix of audience and your target group in the best possible manner today. Please value this data and ensure your content calendar is built around this. If you have to use vernacular language to have more reach, please do so. Tier 2 cities are also having students who are aspiring, for thinking big. I think this is one of the best ways to reach out to them. None of these guys are not, if you assume that they're not savvy enough, no, that's not true. With so many lower end smartphones coming into the market, they're not really expensive, so they are affordable. And if you see, tier 2 city students are also actively involved in social media. So please have vernacular language, have your strategy built on where the traffic is coming from. Please do not ignore this particular feature. Please look at people, constantly have a look at it, understand why people from that page or from that city are liking or becoming your fans more than the other city. Try to understand that and fill the gap. You might have to have your ad spend strategy built on this as well. So the most crucial thing that you can do with this is, if you can utilize vernacular language, regional language to reach, I think there's a better emotional connect straight away. Please try your best to use this metric. Creative Studio is something that is helping you get more insights from what's happening with your FP page. Well, how to grow your audience, how to increase your distribution. And when you do a deep dive, it's talking purely about videos. So we'll spend a little more time on videos, but I would still want to say, there are case studies where I've seen that by just doing proper video SEO, there have been huge amount of traffic that people have been able to derive out of it. And when you want to do social media videos, please do not worry about DSLR cameras. Don't try to complicate it. All your mobile phones are more than enough. I think all of them are mostly today 4K resolution. Even if it is not 4K, in full HD quality is sufficient. Please learn the basics of lighting. Do not have too much of a spend on the overall production and creation of content. Ensure for social media you go ahead, do smaller videos, cost-effective videos, and please feed the engine. Ensure that you use Creator Studio. It will be available in publishing tools. This will help you understand how your videos are performing, what amount of engagement your audience are having with your videos, how many minutes did they view, why are you supposed to course correct it. All of those things are beautifully laid in this FP publishing tools Creator Studio. By the way, if you actually look at the sound collection, they have fantastic royalty-free music as well. So please go ahead and use them and publish them, and you're having royalty-free music there that will not hamper any of your copyrights. So people who are in the communication, please use smartphones as much as possible to create content for social media, because they are good resolution. All you have to take care of is basic lighting, and I think that could be available, made available in no time. So please ensure that you shoot a lot of videos and publish them. Talking on Twitter, interestingly, this is something that people should know. Well, I'll just straight away get into the next slide and say, you are bigger than your university in this mass social media. That's very true. So anything to do with thought leadership is the space that you should be looking at Twitter. So you being a HOD or you being a vice chancellor, if you would like to put across your thought leadership on a particular summit or a conclave, or probably just talk to the student community at large about a newer stream, anything that could be, it has to be driven through the persona of that person. It should be personally driven and not driven by the page by itself. It has to be something which probably someone like Anand Mahindra, who's been doing fantastically well on Twitter. Probably I have an example here, although this could be a little negative in terms of the overall mindset that we might get into, which is very, very disheartening to see a very successful businessman giving up on his life, which was not something that we would like to deep dive into it. But the point is, I really appreciated the way Mr. Anand Mahindra tweeted very recently. He says, I only know the entrepreneurs must not allow business failure to destroy their self-esteem. Now, this is a very personal statement. There's a successful businessman who's talking about the failure of another very successful businessman, but he is positioning himself and he's putting it out in the best possible manner by connecting well with the audience. This is the best example of thought leadership, being very relevant to the time and utilizing your communication to really convey what you think. I think it's very important that you be real, you convey what you think, and you position yourself. So please, Twitter should be used more from the faculty standpoint, from the chancellor standpoint, from the vice chancellors, the thought leaders, the leaders who are putting up these universities and running it. These are people who can talk and make more followers come behind them and make a difference to the student community. I do not see this to be a very good social media platform for younger audience unless if you are an innovator, a person who has come up with something and you have won an amazing award for whatever you've done. This is the space where you could showcase what you're thinking. It's more to do with thought leadership than to do anything on a physical activity that you would have taken or anything to do with that. This medium works more with what you want to communicate and make statements. So it's a brilliant tool for thought leadership. I would urge all the content calendar creators to please spend time on what could be the founder statements, what could be the equity that they would have brought in, what is the value system that they've gotten, vision, mission, all of these aspects can be spoken here. This is the platform for you to talk at the macro level, talk about what you are here for. So the universities must use Twitter in the best possible manner to get their chancellors and vice chancellors to emote what they feel and what needs to be done. Moving further, Quora. Wow. Quora has been something which I think has not been used in the best possible manner till now. It's one of the best ways to build back backlinks with knowledge. So please use Quora because we have always been told to ask questions. So if you have a doubt, if you have anything to know, I think engagement of relevant faculty to the questions asked already, if they start answering them and finally leave out a message saying that they are from this university and this is where they teach, I think it will add immense value in terms of the brand equity in the ecospace, the digital space for the university by itself. So please use Quora as one of the most important elements for you to build your brand equity in the digital space. The features that I would like to spend a little more on video is that it's a very simple statement and it's very well written. It says 80% of global internet traffic will be attributed to videos by 2021. These are insights which we have fetched from various SEO tools, from various analytics tools. What it's saying ultimately to us is that engagement becomes higher because the way the overall content is conceived is very interesting. So people find videos to be more interesting than any other form of content. So please leverage, you should have a brand film. If you do not have a brand film, then probably you will have to then just make a profile video. There's a huge difference between a brand film and a profile video. A brand film is a hello to the world. It does not sell your university. A brand film is one which talks on why it has come into existence. So a brand film is something that can emotionally connect with the audience and tell the influencers, the parents and the student community as to why they should be part of this university. So please use your brand film as one of the major tools to influence the minds of the people and use this in the most pragmatic manner. Probably you could publish your brand film on YouTube and share it on other socials. By doing this, I think video SEO is something that makes life easier. And I have few small steps that you need to make a note of if possible. One is you should know that you should have your title and description very well written. And your title and description is something which is as good as a meta description. So please ensure you use the right title for it so that you show up when you want that particular keyword is searched on a Google search. Please ensure videos are not just meant only for social media, it is also very good for your SEO. So on that note, transcript to be uploaded, yes, there is an auto transcript that comes with the YouTube channel, but I would still want you to look at .txt file uploaded by yourself so that you're precise with every word that you want to publish. Custom thumbnail, just to entice more people. Subscribe annotation, yes, there should be a call to action for it. And of course, if you really want to look at your copyrights and stuff, add a watermark to your brand film too. So brand film or a profile video is a must about every university to ensure that the audience actually engage well. Just to move further ahead, I think I will also spend a little time on what do we have in the future. So the trends and topics for 2020-21. Well, like I said, social video broadens the horizons. It's going to go way beyond what we are doing today. Probably you might also see a lot of engagement happening through video itself, by video itself. You might hover something and you might end up seeing a call to action. Hovering a video, you might see a call to action coming. So these are things that is happening and there is a lot of disruption going on. The second thing is live streaming of events will become more crucial from how real you are. People will start judging, the engine will start judging you with how many events are you doing and how many are you showcasing it to the engine. So live streaming will become another crucial element for you to look up to. Then AR and VR will engage more audience. Of course, anything to do with augmented reality, there are a lot of LMS, learning models that are coming up where you can use augmented reality not just to teach but also to entice people to make them come together and give out a purpose to the whole event. There are a lot of collaborations, there are a lot of communities coming together just because there is a lot of technology related things that are being shared. Anything to do with 360, anything to do with AR, VR is making people feel very cool and savvy about it. So I think as universities, if you feel your overall curriculum can bring in a sense of some tech savvy stuff even in your teaching methodology, I think that will help the social media as well to leverage your content in the best possible manner. The more you feed these unique content, the more the engagement you will find. Insights are going to be more profound. That's very true. Every day, tools are getting updated. There are newer things that is coming up and telling you precisely on remarketing what could be done, how do you set goals, what is the best possible result that you could look at, what activity you begin with. So I think these things will play a very crucial role, and please have a dedicated analyst back in your university who works very closely with your digital marketing or a marketing team, so that there are course corrections which are made immediately. There are possibilities that you might have gone wrong with your approach. It is crucial that through analytics, through learning from the engine, be realistic and course correct it immediately. And I think insights are going to get more stronger. Look out for more tools. Look out, spend more time on the insights so that you precisely know what your audience are doing with you. Unique content leads to leadership, yes. What do you mean by uniqueness is probably the tone of communication that I was talking about. You need to spend a little more time on that and try to see if there could be a unique way of communicating the overall story. Niche versus mass social media, I think niche will take over. I think LinkedIn and other niche social media will start becoming more apt to you because there'll be very closely knit community and groups coming together on that particular platform. So your marketing strategies can be knit easily and targeted to those specific communities. Power of AI, yep, I know there is artificial intelligence everywhere, but I still feel you can have young data scientists built through your universities, have an interdisciplinary curriculum built in, spend a little more time more on social media with the student community, engage them go along with them, have them around you, and please ensure that you make sense out of all your campaigns. Spend more time in asking them, do you like this? Do you want to see this? Do you want to have this shared? Do you think this will be worth mentioning on the social? So a very inclusive approach towards what content marketing that you could do would actually help you more. And of course, automation will take over everything, but there has to be that acumen, there has to be that BI, business intelligence, that you have to feed in for the AI to take over. But the power of AI is definitely going to be higher, and I have no doubts about that. So please ensure that your content strategy for the coming months will be more realistic. It should be more emotionally driven, and most importantly, it should make people take action. So use social media, especially FP, as a tool which could actually communicate about the overall experience the students can have by being part of your university. Use it more emotionally. Try to connect it more on a human front. Technology, yes. Projects, yes. But what is the impact? For example, there are universities where they're coming up with agri-tech products. Agri-tech products will help rural India. It helps tier 2 cities as well. So an agri-tech product, if it can bring in a change, if it has impacted, is a better story for me to tell than something where I just talk about my incubation center, which is getting launched. Of course, this has to go as a calendar of event. Yes, you need to publish that, but do not forget the impact part. You created a beautiful techno center, but what are they bringing it out from there? So these aspirations, these aspects must be considered when you're publishing. And this is where I think we have to be very, very carefully planning our content calendar. And Chitra, I hope I can open the chat for Q&A sessions now.
Yes, this one. There's one question there. I'll get it.
I could not hear you there. Sorry.
There's one question coming. What is the optimal frequency of engagement on social media platforms?
Can you just please repeat that for me?
Yeah. So, what is the optimal frequency of engagement on social media platforms?
Frequency of what?
Frequency of engagement on social media platforms. So, what is the optimal frequency?
See, very nice. I think what we need to look at it is what are you trying to communicate? If at all you're trying to have something to do with branding, I think the frequency can be lower. It could be like probably 2 posts a week. But if you are trying to sell, if you're trying to convert, have a lot of admissions done, there is a surge that you should have probably alternative days. If you can post it on FB, also share it on different socials. An alternative day approach would help if you're trying to build traction for admissions. But if it is only to communicate about branding, if you are trying to position yourself as a university, I think you could just go with 2 posts a week. Do not flood it.
Okay. And the next one is what are the different ways to grow traffic in social media?
Traffic in social media. I think the only way that we are left out with is that you first have to build a good fan base. Please start your groups so that you can find like-minded people. It's very hard to find them. It is not easy to find like-minded people on social media, but you need to figure out ways through offline as well. Where are your students spending time? If they are spending time more in a restaurant or in a coffee shop or probably inside the campus in cafeterias, you need to come up with campaigns where you have tabletops which can do the talking about there is something exciting, there's something very engaging that you could be doing with the social page, and these things are put up in different areas where you see your community people coming together and spending time. Anything to do with leisure should be converted into optimal communication to the students. Do not try to force fit it. Anywhere you try to have it like a workshop, it never works. Please ensure your communication is not very formal. Try to make it more a very warm, casual approach, probably FB Live. If you want to know more about your university campus life, come on this FB Live session, and we have the leaders of our student welfare, students themselves, who've been elected, can actually be part of that FB Live session, and there could be many questions asked. So try and do it in a way where people do not feel that this is a forced communication to me. Engaging them, making them to feel that this is something that they could spend time with, can bring traffic to your social. So please be open to a hybrid approach. That is how I would look at it.
Yeah. So, Mr. has a question, and we are trying to open his line. I think he wanted to speak and ask his question. Mr. Tarun, can you hear us? I'm not sure if you're able to speak. If you're not able to speak, could you please post your question in the Q&A window? I think you should be able to speak now. Your line is open. Mr. Tarun, can you hear me? Okay. think his line is muted, so I'm not sure if he is able to speak.
Okay.
No. Can you please ask me to post the question? Okay, so the other questions are, do we need separate social media engagement maintenance tool, or is Google Analytics sufficient?
Analytics can talk more on how the overall referral traffic is coming to you, but I would still suggest there are some brilliant tools to look at how social media strategies can be improved, and probably I could share the links with you over a mail, and I'll keep this as a noted point, Chitra. I will share this across.
Thank you. So I have a question, Prashant. So since you manage social media engagement for many clients, and you have also gone through the various posts by different institutions, what is the message that you have for institutions in terms of posting their content? So regular updates and those things are, I think, always going online. But do you have any specific observation in terms of any particular content they could still use and increase their presence?
Yeah, thank you, Chitra. I think it's very crucial that we drive it more from a warmth between the stakeholders. I think students today are very keen. Let me just pull out one case study. It will tell you what is expected in the corporate world today. I think Capgemini has come up with a very nice designation to one of the employees. It's called Chief Fun Officer. It's called the CFO. Chief Fun Officer. I mean, a marketing officer is called the Chief Fun Officer. So I think the world is getting prepared for people who can actually be in their work spot, liberate themselves, and feel confident about what they're contributing. It's not to do only about how disciplined you are. It's also about how do you have that childlike spirit at work where you could enjoy what you're doing, bring a sense of fun, not at the cost of the company, but ensuring the environment by itself is great. So I think from a tone of communication standpoint, fun and humor has been left behind. I think we should see more of universities looking at things where fun becomes a very crucial fundamental thing for them to communicate about how beautiful it is to be part of the campus life. It's not just about infrastructure. It's not about how many patents you have filed. It's about the experience that the universities are providing the students. I think that will help us, help them a lot.
Thanks, Prashant. Mr. Tarun has posted his question. I think we couldn't hear him. So his question is, in the context of countries where good internet connectivity is still an issue, what should be the social media strategy, as more videos might not, they may not be able to upload heavy videos, or, streaming could be an issue.
Right. So ideally, it's a brilliant question because this is something that even tier 2 cities in India tend to face. So there are compression containers, video compression containers. I will probably share the link where you could drop your high resolution video. It doesn't bring down the resolution of your video. The size of the video gets optimized. So you use these videos and automatically your 50 MB file becomes probably 5 MB, and your bandwidth will not be an issue with a 5 MB file. So you need to be a little smart here. You cannot claim that, because I don't have bandwidth, I don't want to push video content. Let's look at solutions which are already available, and I think optimizing your videos using video codec, which can be compressed in such a way that you still have visual quality, but the size of the video is smaller, so it gets downloaded easily. I think this is one way of looking at it. The other part of it is, yes, if there is a huge bandwidth issue, instead of a lot of videos, probably you might have to go with GIF images, which is easier to download and they come in KBs. You can still engage them a little more creatively if you use GIF images more.
Okay. There's another question. In the university perspective, what should be the best time to post on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, any of the social media for domestic as well as international audience?
Okay. So let me try to focus more on IST. I'll try to talk more on India. From an India standpoint, I think we have to look at the pattern of the student community. I think what happens is during the weekdays, they are mostly involved in their academics. Probably the only time frame that they find during late evening, that is between 7:30 to 8:30 or 9, is where that they would like to study a bit. But today's generation are super smart. I mean, they spend time studying, but they also know to take a break with social media. They do spend their time during these weekdays, but the search is very high on Friday afternoons, uh, Saturdays, and please do not try to meddle anything with the Sunday. Allow that to populate during Sundays. Do not try to push too many things on Sundays. You could schedule one post probably, but I would still suggest Friday afternoons. Saturday, probably whole day is open to you because kids and the influencers tend to spend a lot of time. If you just look at the way the corporate employees also operate, I think there is a lot of influencers who live in the corporate world. The search between 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 7:30 in the evening is very high. So leverage and have your ad campaigns run between 2:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. and it does wonders for you. Yeah.
I think Mr. Maulik Shah has a question. Your line is open. You could speak to Prashant.
Yeah, hi. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so my question is the ultimate objective of to do this social media marketing is to get the leads. So there are many chances that we are not getting the quality leads. Like if we are offering engineering, but we are getting the leads of medical or nursing. So what are the tools or the ways that we can get the quality leads?
Right. So that's a brilliant one. My request to you would be to have a lead generation form built, keeping the ad policies in mind. And please ensure your questions are extremely specific. Do not try to make it sound something which is open to all streams. Probably you could go a little specific on engineering. All right. So what happens is by pushing a form with the right set of questions, which is probably more specific, it will fetch you more results and it might be better. And also when it comes to your TG, kindly be very careful in terms of what places in the country will help you, which geo will help you, where are more demand and supply options. For example, Karnataka itself has more than 350 engineering colleges. So there's a huge amount of demand supply ratio there. So you need to have your strategies right. If you're doing a pan-India campaign, you should know why they should come down here and study. So please have your TG with specific questions so that your lead form is very clear and it has to be based on the ad policy and you get quality.
Like we are normally we are doing the generic marketing. So in that there is no specific question set or anything. But in that case, there is a just lead generation tab on which the students or aspirants are clicking, and we are getting the leads. So in that case, is there any backend way that we can get the quality leads or any tools or something like that?
I think you know what, if you want to try this option, see this particular style of marketing will help, or advertising will help in Google AdWords. Probably you should do more AdWords like this. And there is also something called as AdWords Express. Kindly note, there is something called as Google AdWords Express. What it does is, it will do the A/B testing by itself. The engine itself will do the A/B testing for you and find out what really works for you and what doesn't. So kindly try that there. But I would urge you to try every FB lead forms for quality lead generation with specific testing. If you want to use FP as the engine.
Okay, thank you.
Right.
Mr. Omkar Singh has a question. We opened his line. Sir, I think your line is on mute. So if you could unmute yourself and ask your question to Prashant, please. And so we have opened the line for Ms. Bhavya Shah. So if you are able to hear us, please ask your question. You could also post your question in the Q&A panel. We'll pick it up from there. Okay. Mr. Onkar Singh has posted his question. What parameters are ideal reflections of improvement in engagement and sentiment across platforms?
Across all platforms, yes. I think we need to see how much of a share mention is happening from whatever so far you've done. Probably you'll have to go back and check on your creatives. If you don't have the basic communication style right with your audience, that also leads to a lot of lack of engagement with the student community. I would want to constantly mention one thing. If we cannot bridge something between the minds of the students and the university through our communication kit, it's very hard for them to relate to what they're talking. So it's very important in your creatives that you have something which is very enticing to them. Don't look at how the engine probably can do, but it's more from an emotional standpoint. If they just look at the creative, they should feel good about it. They should know about it, or they should get more enticed to click and learn more about it. Learn more is a very good goal setting that you could have. The learnings from learn more and goal settings from there will fetch you a lot of parameters for yourself to create an insight, and please go ahead and do that. And do not forget one more thing, have a lot of survey forms done. Survey is one of the best ways to fetch what your audience are thinking. Run a lot of surveys, try to learn from them as to what is their expectation. So that way probably you could define the parameters yourself. I would suggest do not depend on tools alone to tell you this. Of course, AI is there. There's a lot of cognitive technology that is built behind. As humans, let's not forget emotionally what needs to be communicated has to be brought in. So that should be the first metric that you should look at. Please have goal settings, have that studied well, and you can discover the parameters yourself.
Okay. Any other questions before we wrap up this session? Okay, I think there are no other questions, Prashant. We are good to close this session.
Great.
Thank you very much for a fantastic session. It was very informative, and I'm sure the audience has also had the same experience as us. And if you have any other questions that you could not post in the conference today, please feel free to mail it to Shruti. You will receive the presentation deck and the recorded session after the webinar is concluded. Thank you everyone for joining today's session. Thank you, Prashant. It was wonderful to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And that's about it. I think we can make the whole country better if we can actually serve it with the right content.
Sure. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.